Hello there, it's Andy Parks from the Washington Times. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Or is it? My look at some recent news coming up. But first, as a listener to my podcast, you qualify to receive a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times, and all you have to do is go to washingtontimes.com/Andy. That's washingtontimes.com/ANDY. What a crazy week in the news. Where do we begin? I guess with the tornadoes and the loss of life and damage to a 6-state area. A rare outbreak of storms for December indeed. And of course, like Rahm Emanuel, Obama's former chief of staff, said, it's a crisis, and you never want to waste a good crisis. Biden didn't wait long to blame the outbreak of tornadoes on climate change, making sure at the Saturday press conference the first question he took was a setup. The reporter asked, was it climate change?
All that I know is that the intensity of the weather across the board has some impact as a consequence of the warming of the planet and the climate change. The specific impact on these specific storms, I can't say at this point. I'm going to be asking the EPA and others to take a look at that. But the fact is that we all know everything is more intense when the climate is warming. Everything. And obviously it has some impact here, but I can't give you a quantitative read on that.
Meaning, yes, this is the perfect time to push my agenda. It was disgraceful. Bodies covered in blankets in the streets, massive destruction, and here was Joe already affixing blame. You know, it made me think of a blizzard in 1958. Yeah, I know, I'm old. A rare one indeed for this area in Maryland. I remember not being able to find my dad's car. That's how deep the snow was. Our neighbor was about to give birth and had to get to the hospital. And I can still see that giant bulldozer pushing snow out of the road so the ambulance could pick her up. Never once did anyone I know claim global warming was the culprit. By contrast, I remember just a couple of years ago getting no snow, zero at all, at our current home in Maryland. I guess my point is this stuff happens, like it or not, and we'll see it again. And for us to think we can somehow change the climate is wishful thinking and a waste of money. Sorry, that's the way I feel, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Joe Biden made another TV appearance this past week. He was a guest of the late-night Jimmy Kimmel travesty. Among other things in this butt-kissing interview, Kimmel asked Biden about poll numbers.
How much do you pay attention to approval ratings?
Well, not anymore. No, I'm joking. I was paying attention when they were in the mid-60s. Now I'm in the mid-40s. I don't pay attention anymore.
I appreciate the honesty, yeah. I mean, because you came in hot, and then you got to medium, and now you're at a low. But you just got to keep your head down, right, and just keep doing the right thing.
Well, look, here's the deal. I think that it's, we've been in less than a year. A lot has happened. And look, people are afraid. People are worried. And people are getting so much inaccurate information to them. I don't mean about me, but I mean about their situation. And so they're being told that, Armageddon's on the way.
Yeah.
The truth is, the economy has grown more than it has any time in close to 60 years. The unemployment rate's down to 4.2%. It's going to go lower, in my view. That's right. We do have inflation on things that, in fact, matter to people's lives. When you show up at a gas station and it's $3.50 at your pump, although now because I took 50 million barrels out of they call the oil petroleum reserve, the gasoline is down below $3 in many places. It's going to come down. It's going to move. But in the meantime, people are worried, and they're worried about whether or not, they have a brother, sister, uncle, aunt who has gotten COVID, and they don't know what to do about it. I mean, so there's a lot of anxiety. And my job is to be straightforward, shoot from the shoulder, let people know exactly what the truth is, and lay out how I'm going to try to make life better for them.
How about that? Economy better than it has been in how many years? You got to be kidding me. Unemployment rate down around 4%. Well, that's because over 100 million people have dropped out of the workforce, Joe. Somehow 50 million barrels of oil released from the Strategic Oil Reserve fixed the gasoline problem when we use 18 million barrels a day. Not even 3 days worth, and you're going to take credit for that? Give me a break. Oh, by the way, I couldn't help noticing that Joe was using cue cards for his ad libs again. Wow. Not to be outdone, Hillary Clinton is out making the rounds again in what can only be described as a poor, pitiful me event. The former Secretary of State and presidential candidate cried while reading her presidential victory speech from 2016. Yeah, it was the one that she had prepared, knowing without a doubt she had won the election. Oops. I guess some things just don't work out. The right thought this recital was laughable, a self-pity party. The left thought it was magnificent. Then Hillary, in an interview with NBC's Willie Geist, showed us why she's back out there. She knows the Democrats are in trouble, and she blamed Trump and took it a step further.
I think that could be the end of our democracy. Not to be too, pointed about it, but I want people to understand that this is a make or break point. If he were, or someone of his ilk, were once again to be elected president, and if especially he had a Congress that would do his bidding, you will not recognize our country.
Heck, I don't recognize this country now, under the Democrats led by Joe Biden. Come on, Hillary, it's your party who loves open borders, hates energy independence, has no problem with major crime surges in America, most in Democrat-run cities, breaking the supply chain. But Hillary says democracy is over if Trump or one of his ilk win in 2024. I guess, one of those deplorables. Along the COVID front, King Fauci says we may now have to get a yearly COVID shot. Yep, this wacko would also have us all bubble wrapped if he thought he could get away with it. Things are so bad for Democrats on this COVID crap, and King Fauci, one Democrat governor, Jared Polis of Colorado, says the COVID medical emergency is over. He's had it. People have to make their own decisions. He said he's not going to tell people to wear a mask. He also said, I don't tell people when they have to wear a coat outside. It's their decision. Then you have the supreme COVID wacko, the New Zealand resident who received 10 COVID shots in one day. Now, the government thinks he may have been selfish. Really? And also in the business of getting the shots in locations where the government pays individuals to get the jab. This week in TV brings some interesting takes. NBC's Chuck Todd says Biden's low approval numbers are Trump and COVID related, not Joe's fault. Chris Wallace is heading out, of Fox News that is. The liberal Wallace, who has been a Democrat forever and has finally had enough, has decided to go home. He's made the leap to a sinking ship, CNN, and he'll finally get to work for one of his media idols, Jeff Zucker. An NBC Sports News crew was robbed at gunpoint in Oakland, California. This marks the third media organization in 3 weeks to have experienced a violent crime. But nothing to see here, right, AOC? She says there is no crime surge in America. Meanwhile, there's a new scapegoat on the horizon when it comes to crime. Among others, New York City Mayor Bill de Bozo and Chicago Mayor Lori Lighthizer are now blaming retailers for more crime. Yep, that's right. They say the business owners have an obligation to keep their stores safe. Isn't that why we have police departments? Oh, that's right. Defund the police doesn't seem to be working too well. Here's a guy who does work well. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is looking for $8 million to remove all illegals in his state to Delaware, home of Joe Biden, and Obama's home of Martha's Vineyard. DeSantis said the $8 million it will cost to bust these people out. Great news. Hey, where's my checkbook? And finally this week, Jussie Smollett has been found guilty of staging a hate crime and no doubt has seen his last acting job. The jury didn't take long to convict him on 5 counts. He could serve a total of 20 years, but no one expects him to get that kind of time, if any. My recommendation, Jussie, start rehearsing. Repeat after me. Hello, my name is Jussie. Would you like fries with that, sir? Thanks for joining me today, and remember to receive a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. Go to washingtontimes.com/Andy. You'll get 24/7 digital access to the Washington Times at 50% off. Again, go to washingtontimes.com/ANDY. I'm Andy Parks. Have a great day.